And from there, let's check out some of the top trending stories from the courtrooms.
We begin with the report that the Code of Conduct Tribunal has adjourned indefinitely the trial of the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki. The chairman of the tribunal, Mr. Danladi Umar, announced this at the court sitting on Thursday, the 8th of March. The CCT chairman also held that it was important to await the decision of the Supreme Court on the appeals filed by both the Senate President and the federal government on the judgment of the Court of Appeal. Senator Saraki is being tried on 3 of the 18 counts of false declaration of assets filed against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Of the 18 counts charged, a 3-man panel of the appeal court, led by Justice Chinuade Wilson Akomolafe, had on December 12, 2017, nullified 15 counts. The panel, however, ordered him to defend himself on counts 4, 5 and 6, which had to do with how he acquired some of his properties in Ikoyi, Lagos. It's the issues arising from this judgment that both parties have taken before the Supreme Court. The CCT chairman agreed with Mr. Kanu Agabi, counsel to the Senate President, on the need to adjourn the matter indefinitely pending the outcome of the appeals at the Supreme Court. Staying in Abuja, the former National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Olisa Metu, has filed a fresh application before the Federal High Court seeking permission to travel abroad for medical treatment. The fresh application contains an affidavit of urgency seeking a speedy hearing. An earlier application for permission to travel abroad on health grounds was dismissed by the court in May 2016, but instead of appealing, the former spokesman brought a fresh application urging the court to release his passport, which was seized as part of the bail conditions to enable him to travel to the United Kingdom for urgent medical treatment. The EFCC opposed the application. Olisa Metu and his company, Dextra Investments Limited, are being prosecuted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on a 7-count charge of money laundering, partly involving the sum of 400 million naira, which they allegedly received from the Office of the National Security Advisor under the leadership of the then NSA, Sambo Dasuki, in 2014. Another federal high court in Abuja has sentenced Charles Oka and his co-defendant Obi Nwabweze to life imprisonment for masterminding the bomb blast which occurred in Abuja on October 1, 2010. The 2 convicts were said to have planned their attacks with Charles's elder brother, Mr. Henry Oka, the leader of the defunct Movement for the Emancipation of the Niger Delta, who had been convicted of the same offences and sentenced to 24 years imprisonment by the South African court in 2013. Justice Gabriel Kolawole, who delivered judgment in the case, held that the prosecution proves the charges against the 2 men beyond reasonable doubt. At least 12 persons were said to have died, with many others injured and property including cars burnt in the incident which occurred near the Eagle Square in Abuja, venue of the Independence Day celebration, which was presided over by then-President Goodluck Jonathan. A High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Jabi, on the same day granted bail to Miriam Sanda, who is being prosecuted for allegedly stabbing her husband, Biliamin Bello, to death on November 19, 2017. Justice Yusuf Halilu, who granted her bail on health grounds, had previously dismissed her 2 previous bail applications. Dismissing the prosecution's objections to the application, the judge held that they failed to counter the applicant's claim that her ailment could not be treated in the prison's health facilities. Justice Halilu then ordered, as part of the bail conditions, that she should provide 2 sureties who must deposit their titles of ownership of landed properties in Abuja. He also ordered that Miriam's father should enter into an undertaking to always provide her in court throughout her trial. And we round off with the report that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has rearranged 2 officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission for allegedly accepting gratifications to influence the outcome of the 2015 elections. Until the trial, the first defendant, Christian Wosu, was the Director of Administration, INEC, Kwara State, while the second defendant, Tijani Inda Bashir, was said to be the head of accounts of INEC's Kwara State office. Both men pleaded not guilty to the amended charges. At the last sitting of the court on February 7th, the EFCC had arrested the 2 men outside the premises of the Federal High Court, Lagos, shortly after the court adjourned further proceedings in their case to the 7th of March. The arrest may not be unconnected with fresh evidence in the case which has necessitated the amended charges against them. Also mentioned in the amended charge is the former Minister of Petroleum, Mrs. Desiani Alison Madueke, who is said to still be at large, and a third INEC official, Yisa Adedoyin, who was earlier convicted by the court after pleading guilty to collecting bribes from the former Minister of Petroleum ahead of the 2015 elections. And Justice Idris has adjourned till March the 29th for adoption of written addresses in the no-case submission already filed by the defendants.
And with that, we come to the end of this week's episode of Law Weekly. Do feel free to send in your comments via any of our social media handles. You can also watch this episode of the program or past ones on our YouTube channel. I am Shola Shoyeli. Thank you for watching.